the EMEA. Whoa, I heard myself twice
Whoa,
there.
whoa,
For a
whoa.
second.
There's a little remakes there, wasn't
That
there?
was pretty weird. EMEA Masters Semifinals, Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition versus Team Heretics, and it's 1-0 so far to the team from the Duck region, or the
Say that
Prime
again.
League. Duck, not Dutch, as
Not
someone
Dutch.
thought I said.
Yeah.
Duck is Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. It's the official region of the Prime League.
Yeah.
Geography.
Yeah.
I mean, you are the smartest one here on this desk.
Well, at least the
Honestly.
highest elo.
I mean, both in real life as well. Do you have a bachelor's or even a master's in anything?
No, I.
No, me neither.
I
I'll
like the
be
way you said
honest.
even a master's. A master's.
It
I
is
don't
like
have a
it's higher.
master's.
I don't know. It's easy getting masters in league, but getting
Not
it in
for
real life
you.
seems harder. I got it before you this season.
Yeah, but how much LP do you have right now?
Anyways, EMEA Masters, Unicorns of Love, Heretics. What do you think, gentlemen?
I think that Heretics need to ban Galio.
Galio.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Or if it goes to second phase and Unicorns don't prioritize in the first three, which is pretty unlikely, I think, unless they have a read that they need to first pick it in the first three, then yeah, I think it needs to be removed because that was a pretty big problem champion, which I feel like, honestly, off watching just one game, I don't think Heretics have an answer for.
Well, I mean, they did do it on 5, right? So they were
Yeah.
certainly scared about something being picked into it before actually going forward with it blind. I think they were quite happy to see the Lissandra being the supportive utility mage over from the side of Zwyroo instead. But in general as well, I just think from the early game and how the game panned out, a lot of it came down to the early skirmishes we saw in the early game, where the Wukong could probably have gotten ahead in the beginning. But then the flash didn't come through from Lissandra in time, so it made it a 1-for-1 instead of a 1-for-0. And with that, I don't like you guys smile just because we got coffee on the desk.
we got given.
Oh, we're just all
Thank
getting
you,
ready
one
for
for
this
you.
game.
Yes,
We
there
all
you
get
go.
our
Thank
coffees.
you.
There you
Okay,
go.
thank
Shall
you.
we-
all around.
We need caffeine.
Did we all
to
get the
operate.
same coffee?
I think
Yeah,
we did.
I guess so.
Oh,
What did
that's
you
fine.
get?
We're in sync, yeah. Latte macchiato.
Latte macchiato.
Latte as well,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
okay,
Well,
cool.
3 basic...
Draft!
Hello, draft.
Heretics on the blue side. They will have elected to be on blue. Unicorns on the red. And there's the Olaf ban once again.
Yeah, not surprised. They probably won't let Venour get that pick. I feel like generally Olaf can be such a irritating champion if not only if you don't necessarily have answers, but if you're a team like Unicorns who would be happy to go something quite global based or very roam heavy. All of a sudden, only you dealing with a 1-to-1 very difficult matchup in isolation as Ivo, but you're then dealing with a pretty consistent 1 versus 2 or 3. So you see that one continue to remove away as Heretics actually remove away both side and Rakan on the blue side.
Yeah, so Rakan, of course, on red side has usually been one of the bans you do alongside Yanni, but for now it's going to be the 2 blue side bans instead. I like the I mean, do I like it? I like that Vi is banned, but then Saya coming through afterwards, usually just because that then we don't have to watch any of these disengaged champions and the hard meta engaged champions we so often see, so we always get something different out of them where we're often looking at hyper carries. But for now, Heretics last time, they're quite happy about the Jayce, and honestly, I was quite happy about that Jayce too. It was quite a good champion to be played by Ivo, I'll be honest.
He had a really good performance on it. Just that one missed position around the Baron and a couple of times when his team were a little over-eager meant that Heretics weren't able to pick up the win. Sejuani again, though, for Unicorns would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's no reason, you know, if it's not broken, then don't fix it. Alright, so for them, going towards Sejuani again makes total and complete sense. And if they want to go towards either, you know, a support blind or just their AD carry inside of the Jinx or the Zeri, if they want a funky, they should very happily do that.
The best we've seen Lekcyc as well in the tournament has been when he's been on playmakers. So but the problem with that is if you blind pick it on 2, you're just going to be met with a Braum, and then all of a sudden you're not going to be having a good time. So I think it makes a lot of sense grabbing up the Jinx here from Funky. On the other side, Heretics still going for what we saw earlier, except that the Zeri has now been swapped out with an Aphelios instead.
Okay, so we'll see how this changes the dynamic of the bottom side, because we saw in the first game that Flakked fell quite far behind in CS 1-to-1.
I think it allows them to have a bit more playmaking potential depending on the guns as well in terms of setup. The fact that you can actually be the one setting up with the Gravitum, it felt like that Flakked had a quite comfortable position, but he was never in a point in time where his champion actually was ahead, so it mattered. So even in team fights where he was completely free in terms of his positioning, he couldn't really do much about it. Now here in 3, they are going for the Cassante. It could just be Venour here saying that, you know, the game could have been mine. I could have not gotten solo killed. I got greedy. I'm going to play the matchup better now.
I'm more surprised that they didn't just go towards the Galio and just protection ban it twice, to be honest. I think it makes a little more sense given the context of game number 1. And there are quite a few champions you can still play into Jayce outside of the Cassante that could fulfill the same role it did in game number 1.
Yeah, interesting to see here as well that the Thresh is actually banned away from Unicorns of Love themselves. Could have been a nice champion to have on 4. And the thing is, if Heretics themselves start banning away the mid laners, starts banning away the supports, they're also banning out their own champions because those are the roles you're still missing for yourself. I think for Zwyroo, you still have good options, but having the Galio ban here should come through, and it does as well.
Yeah, no real surprises there. It was such a thorn in Heretics' side in game 1. We'll see if that Aphelios is able to match up into the pressure that Funky was able to put down in the laning phase on the Jinx. It was Flakked and Marlon under tower for the majority of the game. Obviously, Leona doesn't help with that either, but now we'll see if Unicorns decide they want to get rid of some more engage. You know, remove the Leona, remove the Nautilus if you so desire to keep that Jinx a little bit more safe, or you get rid of the Lissandra.
Huh.
That's interesting to me because I feel like you could have gone for a Braum ban and then looked for support here, but maybe they're just putting the support pick all the way down. Last time around though, they really wanted Mask, or they really wanted the Cassante and Mask on the counter pick rather. So we'll see if that will be the same case between the two laners now with Funky, or with Mask and Lekcyc still having their options available.
I was gonna say, Ari blind then? If you ban the Lissandra like this, it just feels like a bit of a telegraphed way to go. Dealing with the Wukong, you want to split up the pairings, and I think given the fact that we saw Galio and then Lissandra banned away, it just rises so highly in priority. So I like that Heretics remove it off the board, and it's actually going to push Unicorns potentially towards a Nautilus blind instead, which I feel like is pretty risky because you just get Braum.
No, okay, this is good. Slap the Braum, have
God,
Aphelios together with Braum. This is actually really lethal combination because when you have Severum, which is the red gun, you proc Winter's Bite
You press
so
Q and Winter's
easily,
Bite
and
is
then they're
just
just stunned.
automatic.
Exactly.
It just dawned on me that I am currently casting with 2 support mates.
Yeah, but we both know this.
Obviously, we all know this together as a 3, but it's tilting you guys a lot more.
And the amount of times it's solo queue, they're like, oh, just first pick, it'll be fine. You only support, I pick Naught, and they go Braum. I'm like, oh, I've lost the game now. Excellent.
So now it's about what Zwyroo wants to go on this mid blind, right? Because you've got Braum. Oh, they're going to send Jayce to the mid lane. Okay, I like this because now Jayce can, in most matchups, I would imagine, depending on what Mask really has left, gain priority very early on, and if it ends up being his hovered Viktor, then certainly well before the evolution for the E comes in the laser beam, I think Syndra would make a little bit more sense in contesting that early priority. Gives you a little more kill threat as well onto the Jayce, 1-to-1.
Yeah, Syndra's nice into champions like Wukong, but and of course, just whenever you are playing for your AD carry in the backline, having that extra range is super nice. But I think the essence, what they needed here, was anything that could buy that extra space. Still a bit annoying playing the Viktor into the Braum due to the fact that your laser gets picked up. You still have the stoning of the ultimate though, but a target that's a bit easier to lock down as well. The good thing about a Syndra potentially would have been that scatter that makes the game a bit difficult to play for the Wukong whenever he wants to join in. This time around though, you're a lot more susceptible to a lot of these ganks.
Yeah, you definitely are. I feel like, however, if you go towards a Syndra, like Braum, unbreakable, all of a sudden your R means not a whole bunch.
My other thought was Silas, but he can do exactly the same thing with a hijack. So.
Actually, comically enough, I'm quite surprised that Master didn't go towards the Silas here.
I think if it hadn't been Gwen and it had been a stronger ultimate from the top lane, I think he would have looked towards the Silas. But across the rest of it, it's like you still have Moonlight Vigil, Glacial Fisher's okay, Jayce ult is like fine, but there's nothing really that powerful for the Silas to nick away.
Yeah, I think you're right, Medic. I feel like the team that Unicorns are, they just love skirmishing so much that I wouldn't have put it past them to just go, you know what, Silas has the almost to steal, we don't care. His kit's still really strong with the Sejuani, but that's the option to go towards for the Viktor, so it's a lot more scaling, a lot more space buying, and generally, I'm very curious to see what exactly they look for in the proactivity department, because it's very hard to go into the bottom side, into the Braum, and on the top side as well, you've got Gwen into Cassante, which is a matchup you've come to learn very quickly. It kind of sucks, to be honest, to hold no punches. So we'll see what Aibo can do, as he has another matchup where realistically he should have a fair amount of freedom to do as he pleases. Okay.
Yep.
Well, and that's a flash down. Luckily, he is playing with Hex Flash.
I mean, luckily and unluckily, because Aftershock Emax is the way to go.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Medic. So what I often will say myself is that I think Glacial is so much better for comp because it's easier for you to actually play around that then, whereas it's a lot more skirmish heavy when you play the Aftershock and Emax. I'm a big advocate of it as well.
So good.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, I got 70% win rate and could get me Master. I got you Master as well, so hell, you know it out there. Emax Nautilus.
I've got to say, I really can appreciate Funky's sixth sense here about whether or not he was about to get ganked.
Just goes all the way around.
And we've seen these late invades with Braums before. This time around, though, they should have the vision and intel that Peach is on the top side of the map because they currently see him in a ward, actually. and they're just going to get a blue buff for free without being spotted.
They will. Unicorns will have vision on the enemy blue, so they know bluerzor is not starting down towards that bottom side. But as soon as Flakked and Marlon walk down from this, you know the bluerzor is starting
But
up.
they actually very lightly leashed, and they're going to try and enter from the lane as if they came through the tri-brush.
They tried to.
Lekcyc, I think he should have. Yeah, that should be enough.
Question about ping in the lane.
That should be enough information to just go, all right, it seems like they slide on our blue, and we'll see how Peach's pathing is adapted. He is on the Krugs at the moment, so he has the opportunity to pivot off of those and go towards the top side. And honestly, it might not be too bad for him, because maybe paying an early visit towards the Gwen before it really comes online and starts to become a nuisance for Xante could give him a little more agency in the lane for a bit longer than he would like.
Yeah, I think in terms of attack points here, hold up. Wait a minute.
Still have one hook. There's some concussive blows coming out though.
And this is why you don't like the matchup, because you got the hook and you still lost the trade. And that's only going to get worse. I think in terms of attacks, because I really like your point, Jamada, is that in the early game, that's really where you can try and find one on the Gwen, specifically because he doesn't run flash. So when you have the slow, if you have the lockdown in the beginning, it can just be a kill. But outside of that, even though you have that Nautilus on the bot side, you're not really going to find the damage as soon as the shields come through from a Braum. So even when you start attacking with ganks from Peach, you're not going to find it there. And in the mid lane as well, the damage is not there before Mask really finds his items in the beginning, unless you can continue to poke out Zwyroo up lane.
Yeah, so it should be a slow start to this early game, is what we're saying for Unicorns. Just because
actually, I could have just said that, and
you
that would have been exactly my point.
You got that. To be honest, I like the detail. Fantastic. I'm very curious about why Peach has actually come down to the bottom side of the jungle, because I'm pretty sure he should have known that his bot side was just not here.
I also wonder if it's like we know he's stolen my blue. We don't know if he's stolen more than that. Do I want to split map? Because you could look for the top lane gank, but also if you split map here, you just isolate your bot lane.
Yeah, I guess though, however, just do 3 camps and then try and invade the bottom side and just pray that it's a good flip. You know, like, committing to the wolves kind of does mean that he doesn't really manage finding anything else besides these Krugs. So maybe it could, you know, keep him afloat, I suppose. He's not going to be too far behind. As bluerzor, just getting a little bit of information on the top side.
Yeah. Let's Zwyroo play a bit safer. Knows that he needs to hover on the top side. Could actually have been a gank here in the mid lane instead. He is still very low. Mass doing a good job of finding that. Wow. Peach actually just forced to flash. 2 versus 3. But once again, the power of having the lockdown of Gravitum and then the Winter's Bite on top afterwards, it's just a CC chain that you don't want to deal with. And I think already the prioritization of Flakked on an Aphelios rather than the Seri is already showing here in the laning phase.
Self is just better.
True that.
So much better.
Preach.
That Braum working out wonders as well for Heretics. We kind of saw it coming in the draft, and I'm sure Unicorn saw it coming as well and just decided that they wanted to play into it, or what they needed to ban away and what they needed to pick was more important. Peach, in the end, will end up about 2 camps down overall.
But let's be real, jungle experience,
jungle experience.
Doesn't matter getting 3 camps.
You know what? Whilst nothing's going on, I'm going to reference this tweet. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's a couple weeks old, where Selfmade was like 10 kills up.
Yeah.
About 20. Oh, hello.
Something's going on. The Unbreakable comes down from Marlon. There's the root being used. Flakked tries to turn it around. Funky's now opening up onto Flakked. The Graviton being used as well as Lekcyc is going to be the first to fall. Funky now needs to run for the hills because Marlon is looking for that concussive blow. Splashes from it. Marlon takes a couple of tower shots, but escapes.
This is why we don't blind pick Nautilus, Medic. Right there. I'd even argue that Marlon could have played that a bit better if he got the auto attacks down on the Nautilus in the beginning. Killed him a lot faster. Bluerzor around the vicinity. Got that sweeper going for him. Ward now out by Funky.
Yeah, but as soon as Funky sees it swept, he's like, I can't even stay to try and catch the wave, right? Yep. That's another 6 minions lost, or a few more than that. He'll be able to come back because Lekcyc comes across, so he only loses 1 in the end of it all. But the kill goes over to Marlon, and the Heretics bot lane has started off a lot better than game 1.
Much better. And hopefully Flakked can actually... Marginally better. It's only an assist, isn't it? You know, I guess at the end of the day. But jokes aside, I feel like for Flakked now, I think the difference really between Zeri and Aphelios is just generally, it feels like you can have a lot more agency on the Aphelios in the mid game to actually start fights yourself. Whereas with Zeri, it's oftentimes in professional play, it's about waiting for the enemies to actually overstep, crash down, and that's when you start to really come online. And you know, we get the Zeri moments of what we've come to get used to.
Yeah, but also just specifically because of Aphelios itemization, quite often we see the Gale Force, and then in turn with your gun combination just allows you to play a bit differently in terms of the way you're playing. Jinx can be a bit more reliant on the teammates around her if she is not excited to get that extra space from her target and herself, whereas Aphelios, I mean, and specifically when he's got that Braum around him, he's going to have a lot easier time in this game.
See Peach now trying to get in towards the Heretics jungle. bluerzor's here as well. Lekcyc's looking for a flank position. bluerzor spotted. First move does come for the Heretics bot lane. bluerzor's going to get locked up here though. Does still have the clone. Will use it to try and get to the blast cone. Gets across the wall and gets out. Now the Winter's Bite from Marlon. Mask coming across. Zwyroo's going to do the damage across the wall here as well. Chaos Storm being popped. Zwyroo flashing in fact, it's not Ivo anymore. Mask able to flash towards the bottom side. Funky trying to get in here as well, but already they've killed off Lekcyc. And bluerzor can rejoin the fray if he wants. Mask going to keep him at bay. One more. The Winter's Bite finds the stun. Peach, though, with the Arctic Assault tried to dash away. bluerzor dashes in, and that's another. Heretics started to clean up. Zwyroo's taken two. Mask will get one in response, but it's answered by another, and Heretics are 4-1 to the good.
And that's just a nightmare scenario, isn't it? It's Aphelios with red and white, don't fight, and on the other side you still have that Braum, or in the same side rather. Funky on the tower, Marlon's
just gonna die.
No,
oh!
so much! And then
There's a minion! There's a minion! Perfectly juggled by Heretics!
Oh, there you have it.
Marlon had the rune because of that skirmish. They got so many takedowns, it unlocked the stopwatch.
Yep. I wanted to see the picture in picture. There was a Nautilus there as well. Was he going to go for the hook? Either way. Here's the replay once again.
Yeah, I mean,
and at first, it's good enemy jungle control once again from Unicorns of Love. Barely gets away from that. And then one auto attack, and then it's just Severum, isn't it? You can see how fast the Winter's Bite is applied. It's so easy to get that stun up. Mask already down to very critical HP.
Yeah, comically, Mask is able to walk out for a very long time, but once bluerzor is able to return to the fray, as this Winter's Bite also connects to get the stun in.
And the problem was for Peach, you couldn't even queue over the wall there because there was just Zwyroo waiting, and then Mask is able to trade back the kill, but how many kills have Flakked got now for himself? 3, 2?
He's on 2 right now.
Ah, it could have been so much more.
It could have, but look at this. The presence of mind for Marlon to kind of just recognize, oh yeah, by the way, I've got stopwatch because of that skirmish, and we can carry on going. For the minions to also be there, it's just so good.
I wanted to see was Lekcyc actually going to go for it here, but he wasn't. Okay, fair enough. You would have gone for that.
I would have 100% gone for that. It's, sometimes you cost your team the game. You do that sort of thing on the Nautilus. But 2-0-3 now for Flakked in a very strong position on this Aphelios. Zwyroo being able to get 2 kills as well in that last skirmish means that Heretics are 2,000 gold to the good, and Funky hit with the Winter's Bite, and the crescendum is enough to take him down. Flakked on a killing spree. We are 9 minutes into this game, and already Heretics are 3,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, and they're just bleeding at multiple areas of the map. Ivo still with the counter pick on the top side. So much easier to play the matchup as a Gwen here again. Blues are around, seeing if they can go for the dive here. No team members around, so Venour, how are you going to get out of this one?
Goodbye, my brother.
Well, salute.
Pops the all out. bluerzor tanking. Cyclone coming out as well. Good dodging. Venour has the Q3 as well. You can see Zwyroo trying to come across, but Peach is actually trying to track him as he goes up towards that top side. Flakked down towards this bottom lane is going to be the beneficiary of 3 plates.
And just look at the fact that they've spotted Lekcyc in the mid lane, so they know they can just force Funky off the turret. He's no flash!
He's got flash in like a second, man! They don't give him an opportunity!
Oh, no!
Oh my god, man!
That ain't fun at all!
To not be an AD carry main.
It's Jinx at the start of Arcane. Everything she does just doesn't work.
Yeah, this is powder.
Yeah.
This isn't Jinx.
And Vi was put in prison here as well. She was banned.
Yeah.
Can't
even help her little sister.
God damn, and oh my god, Viktor, Jayce, we got the entire crew here, don't we?
Have you guys watched that hit show, Arcane, by any chance?
Really? Anyways.
Yep.
Yes.
Medic.
Well, the problem is...
Yeah.
Go on.
It's 7-1, my dude. It's like, it's 10 minutes into the game.
So let's paint the picture, okay?
Okay.
You have a losing top, you have a losing bot lane, and you have a mid laner right now. That is the scaling aspect. You have a jungler that can play, but the problem is you have no way to be proactive. There is no way you can make a play right now without you losing. So all Unicorns of Love can do right now is hold on, man.
Yeah, it is kind of about holding on. And I will say, this is a very similar criticism I had to their quarterfinals round matchup as well, where I felt like a lot of the times they were kind of leaving Venour on an island, even if he had a good matchup, just for clarity. Obviously, this is a very rough one, 1-to-1. But think about it, the amount of setup that you have, between the Sejuani and the Cassante, it's not like you can't play towards the Gwen matchup
Yeah.
whilst this is going on the bottom side. So it does speak to me that, you know, perhaps they're just so unused to playing towards the top side that they just never do.
We saw that when they were playing the Maokai and Aurelia lane into Academy.
Yeah.
They didn't get the resources either in quarters. So yeah, I definitely see that point. But I also think that in terms of flexibility in draft here, Heretics really had that number. One thing is that they actually flexed that Jayce and they weren't ready for Cassante to suddenly get counterpicked with the Gwen. But also the fact you blinded Nord without banning Braum. That's a mistake you only make once in your career, and this game will be PTSD for the rest of it.
3,000 gold lead for Heretics. Marlon just overtaken by Funky in terms of total gold as well, which is not the position you want your Jinx to be in. This is Viktor down. Heretics will be able to crack the first tower of the game, and then you can move Flakked around the map, take him up towards that top side, put the Gwen down towards this bottom lane, make it a longer lane for the Gwen into the Cassante if you so desire.
Some sightseeing of the Rift.
Yep.
And Flakked's
Sometimes you
even-
just got to do your T-Tours, you know?
Yeah,
You're right.
You've got to do them T-Tours. And speaking of T-Tours, I think Flakked's probably got enough money to do it. He just finished up the coal on that same push as
no.
Lekcyc.
Peach, okay, so Peach is coming in.
Alright.
How long can the Nautilus survive? Because bluerzor's just flashed forward. The Nautilus is going to fall. Lekcyc will go down. But Peach and Mask are here to try and collapse. Flakked locked up, has the Ghost, has the Flash, has the Gale Force, and immediately dashes away. bluerzor will fall. The Moonlight Vigil being used as well. The Zap tanked by Marlon, but Funky's starting to get excited. Didn't get the kill, and Flakked will be able to escape any further action.
Okay, a little bit of an overstep. It looked a little bit, I was going to say funky, but then I realized, you know, the AD carry, but it looked a little bit overzealous, shall we say, instead
Yeah.
of Lekcyc to really, you know, even look for this, but does it anyway. And very fortunately for him, the rest of Unicorns eventually show up. Takes a while for him to be burned down.
Yeah, I think the fact is you don't get the opportunity to kite down here. A bit overzealous is this moment right here. In the beginning, it's fine to go for it. After the forward flash is forced, probably have to just get out of sight. Good shield here, I think, from the laser actually is coming up, and that's the Gale Force we're talking about, but it was still first move from Unicorns a lot. It was that priority they had from Mask, and they could finally put it to use.
Yeah, Marlon sacrificing himself to the Zap at the end
It's
as well.
Unicorns of Love Sexy
Oh
Edition.
my goodness.
Oh, man.
So just pun game now. Is
No, I didn't realize that. When I said it, I was like...
13 minutes in, 11 kills with a 4,000 gold lead. It's like, okay, time for puns. Let's go.
Yeah.
Is that not your casting in general?
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Can't steal it from me, Gorbo.
I'm sorry. You got any for us, Doctor?
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No.
All right. I think he's got to prep them. You know,
Yeah,
I think he'll be back next game with them ready.
Yeah.
It's
And
a
that
shame.
game will be super serious. I'll just jam them in there anyway. Yeah, but for the moment, you have a two-item AD carry. Flakked is in prime position to carry this game from here on out. Unicorns of Love did get the first dragon, which means any soul stacking from Heretics will be a little bit delayed, but I don't think they mind that too much, considering everyone on their team has a mythic apart from the support, and you look on the other side, Funky's still working towards his, Peach still working towards his. It's a bit of a hole that the Unicorns are in right now.
Really early.
And with their hooves, how are they going to dig themselves out? You know?
There he is! There he is!
You can't scoop with a hoof.
I think really early LDR as well, actually, from Flakked. It's an item that buffs up your damage with percentages, so if you don't have too much, you won't have the highest value, but when you get to that third item, that's really where he's going to start doing a lot of damage.
That's the Glacial Prison used as well, and Ibo will fall in the top lane. Good catch from the Unicorns.
Look, I'm going to be honest. Fantastic
this
Unicorns,
earlier.
but like this would have been great 5, maybe 6 or 7 minutes ago when the bottom side was getting absolutely pummeled. Now it just feels like a bit of a consolation prize, but still, definitely on the right path to trying to claw back some gold. So I'm happy that Unicorns have actually recognized that this is an option for them to attack.
And I'll be honest as well, we've seen multiple games right now where the game looked to be over. It really wasn't. I'll be honest.
Between like these two teams in the quarterfinals as well, they both were able to pass. Okay, maybe it's over.
That's all right.
Maybe.
That's fine. We've seen this multiple times.
This is going into my case study of why does Gale Force need damage on the dash as well? It's just
magic damage as well.
Magic damage, which scales off of your AD. Because
Why?
it's
It's magical.
It is magical, but why does it need it? Give an AD carry a dash, cool, still makes them a little bit strong, but fine. But then why does it need damage and an execute?
Yeah, all in one button press.
Guys, AD carries are not that strong. Shut
Oh
up.
yeah. How many pentas have there been throughout this year? Just
It was
like
actually
on
a
Zeri
record
and
high of pentakills in one split, and our split was even shorter than
in the
last
LEC.
year. Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
Maybe we'll see another one this game. Aphelios being denied his pentas for so
Oh,
long.
yeah.
Remember, like it was whenever he came out, 2021?
Yeah, something like
2020? when it was just press Moonlight Vigil, when you have Blue Gun, everyone dies. In this game, we might see it happen again.
You know, it seems as we're on the balance discussion talk. I will still always stand by, like, abilities like that should never be able to crit, but the damage should just scale off crit chance, and it would just be so much more balanced.
We've had our long discussions about crit and how we hate it, and you know, like it can work, but really it's dumb. And yes, the amount of times I've seen an AD carry in the LEC with 20% crit, 4 crits in a row,
Well, that's actually because crit in League of Legends is actually not crit like crit.
Well, it's skewed, but you shouldn't hit 4 in a row.
No.
Hey, just lucky.
It's RNG.
just super lucky.
Just count the cards, you know?
Exactly. For the moment, though, Heretics doing exactly what they need to do. Keep funneling gold into Flakked. Zwyroo as well on the Jayce, really strong. They set up push in the mid lane. They've already broken the top tier 1 and the bot tier 1, so mid lane tier 1 is their next target.
Yeah, but that's the thing as well. This is where we need to see you do better than the first game for both teams, really, right? Because a lot of this game will just be around the mid lane, but now you have a side lane you can push through with either your Jayce or your Gwen, and you want to utilize the fact that you get pressure, you have a Rift Herald, and then you can push in one of these side lanes, afterwards meet in the mid lane when the opponent is too busy picking up the side lanes, and then you take that mid lane turret. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
Yes.
Big board.
Yes.
I like it. I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm on the same page.
That's great. What book are we reading?
I don't really...
Dummy's Guide to League of Legends.
There we go. Yeah. Let's see.
You guys are the authors. It's like one of those, you go to a bookshop and you read it out to the rest of us.
Yeah. Funky.
Don't step up. Just don't do it, Funky. You have range. Just stand back.
Okay. Sure.
There's the Rift Herald.
So,
I won't take a whole tower, but perhaps with a little bit of help from Zwyroo and Flakked, it can. Mars trying to join in here. You can actually see the collapse coming out first from the Unicorns. Glacial Prison is going to hit, but only onto Marlon. Rift Herald does charge in, takes half the health of the tower. And in the end, all that was expended.
We skipped a few steps here.
Yeah.
Side lane pressure came after. So now you can see that Gwen is getting side lane pressure. And someone will probably respond to that. But yeah, steps a bit mixed up there, but still you got the charge on turret, I guess.
It's like one of those Escher paintings, you know?
Right.
Sometimes the steps are just a little bit in a weird order.
Right, okay. I was like, Escher. But yeah, no, you're right.
Escher.
Escher?
I see Escher.
I don't know how to say.
Anyway, meanwhile in the top lane, Funky tried to match Ibo, flashes away from the needle work. TP coming in here as well. It's a lot invested as Ibo looked for the dive. Depth charge hits him. Peach still chasing him. Ibo actually might fall here. Suplex Deathhook coming out in the end. Ibo will go down. And Unicorns get out with the kill.
You guys can't see it, but Gulborg is losing his mind on the caster desk right now. I will say it's just a little bit strange from Ibo. Just overstepping. He does get both the summoner spells of Funky, and Flakked is actually going to have to use his flash.
Laser.
Yeah, a little bit greedy there on the pathing. And that will cost Flakked his summoner spells. And if Unicorns are willing to pounce on these plays, you know, the Dragon spawns in 20 seconds time. It wouldn't be unlike them to now get mid lane priority, which they have. Are they just going to get this tower? I think they do, just because of where everyone is on Heretics.
Crazy that Unicorns get mid tower first. All right, so great play from Unicorns to dive on Ibo to get the kill and then to move to mid. But Heretics all resetting at the same time, not defending their mid tier 1 is an oversight.
But they'll get priority for the Drake when it spawns here.
Yeah,
that's why they go for the reset. So you got the Constellation prize for Unicorns of Love where they pick up that turret. They're now going to be late because they have their resets and they're going to give over the third Drake.
But Unicorns were never going to fight this. The second Dragon of the game for Heretics, like you just give up a mountain at this point. It doesn't really cost you too much, and you were able to get that gold in the mid lane. Still a 2,500 gold lead for Flakked, who's almost got his Bloodthirster complete, while Funky just sits on those double swords and wonders how on earth am I going to load these into my guns. But he'll get there in the end.
And honestly, the further this game goes on, Mask is getting more scary. You know, he's got that item advantage in the mid lane right now. He is becoming very scary with the damage of Viktor, and if there's one guy stopping Flakked from stepping up, it's actually going to be him.
Can be poked down, of course, by the Jayce. The range advantage from those shock blasts do a bit of work. Now in the mid lane, the minion's still standing, and tower gets chipped away at. Marlon's going to tank a couple of extra tower shots here, and in the end it falls. So, net 1-for-1 on the mid lane towers.
The question now begs, has this significantly made the game easier for Heretics? And we will be answered based on the decisions they make on how they actually set up vision in the jungle. As you know,
so how can it make it easier for them?
So
explain the steps for me.
So whenever you take the mid lane tier 1 tower, basically allows you to catch the wave higher up in the lane, and if you do that, what it effectively does, it kind of locks Unicorns into a situation where they either have to check for vision in either side of the jungle, or they have to show on the wave, and then that gives Heretics the time and the information to actually go and set their own vision up instead.
I really miss my telestrator right now. We don't have that in the studio to draw on the screen, but essentially what Unicorns of Love just did in the top side, where they now got aggressive vision in the blue side jungle to play around the side lane, that's what we want to see from Heretics instead, because they should be the one who's getting pressure on the side lanes.
Exactly.
Right now they are pushing up towards this
Mask does have
top
flash.
lane. Mask does have flash. Chaos Storm going down. Gravity well used as well. Peach on the collapse. Flakked trying to come in from the side. Marlon already down to half HP. And the Glacial Prison hits onto Flakked. TP in, but the flame chop is just a little bit late. Flakked so low, trying to heal him up. Ivo coming in with the needle work as well. And Mask shut down by Zwyroo. Peach trying to put the damage down, but he can't get close enough. Heretics find 2.
Yeah, they find 2. It feels so rough for the Unicorns, though, because they were so close to taking down Flakked. Still no Summoner spells from the greedy pathing earlier on. Couldn't actually be abused. Now the Baron looks like it's on the cards for Heretics after pretty easy pick onto Mask and onto Peach.
Yeah, Funky no ultimate, so you won't even get the steal through a Jinx either. I think there's really no way you can actually go for the steal, but they might
mean, health bars are low enough.
There's the hook. Funky looks for some damage. Ivo can dash in. He's immune right now. Baron down to 3,000. bluerzor off towards the back of the pit. Flakked already isolated, and Venour will take him down. Baron secured. Funky trying to get away from Ivo down towards the bottom side as Ivo will just chase him and snip his heels. The Achilles tendon snapped by Ivo. Venour was able to find one, but in the end, it's Baron and a kill for Heretics.
Big graphic in it, but he gets away with it. Goes for the kill either way.
Snips him.
Got the Baron as well at the same time. Yeah,
Killed Achilles, killed Funky.
But they do get the Baron either way. Does get a kill on towards Flakked again, but let's watch a replay.
Yeah, and it's just Mask getting caught out after this extension towards the top side, right? Trying to set up a little bit of vision. Unicorns were. The rest of Unicorns show up, but it's about the repositioning here from Mask, where he tries to get further in to actually attack Flakked.
Yeah, and if the hook connects here, maybe there's a chance where you get the kill because he gets pushed into the chompers then.
Yeah.
You can get a reset on Funky. It could be a different fight, but once again, you see how lethal Mask can be in these fights, right? Like, he hit that, he did have the flash up, managed to make it extended, almost gets the kill. Then, in the exchange afterwards, they're just looking for the kill. Ivo's gonna go in Moon. Funky can't really look at any targets. He gets too close afterwards, and that's just when he's gonna get run down.
I've got to say, I'm kind of surprised in a way that Venour didn't try and bring the Wukong out just to make it a flip. But at the same time, I feel like if you do that, then maybe Flakked just murders everybody anyway. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Either way, they do end up losing out on the Baron, and Heretics have that one now to try and siege up on some of these towers. Then.
Another 2 minutes forward, but Ivo, no ghost on him. Chaos Storm is taking him down, and he'll fall shut out by Mask. And now Marlon, bluerzor, and Flakked realize that their top lane is no longer here. Funky not there with the fight as of yet. Depth charge available for Lekcyc. They try to get onto Flakked. Depth charge going down onto bluerzor. Funky now joining the party. And Breakpoint is down, but it's an Aphelios moment. The Moonlight Vigil with the Infernum gun. Funky needs some resets. Funky needs some damage, but he just can't find it. Super Mega Death Rocket hits Flakked. Funky flashes away, but the zap going wide means that bluerzor can clone over the wall and chase down the Jinx. Flakked trying to trade with Venour. The Gale Force and a final shuriken enough. In the end, Heretics win the fight.
Starts off with Ivo getting caught off, but Unicorns again just overstep, feeling like they have the numbers advantage and that will be enough. But it's not. They chase into the choke and they find out why Flakked and Aphelios has so many years underneath his belt.
Oh, that choke point right there with the Moonlight Vigil and the Flamethrower. Not much to do about that situation. As soon as you caught in it, it's just pure AoE. Let's have a look at it once again, because it's a good pick once again on Ivo, and you can see it's through the damage of Mask. He's the one player holding you in the game right now, and maybe just a bit overzealous from Ivo.
Yeah, I think also just kind of a poor use of the W, the Shroud, like 2 times. Normally you use it to avoid getting hit by the knockback. And I think getting hit by that first one kind of sealed his deal. Yeah, Mask in a picture actually.
Good gravity well into the castle. Mask keeps himself alive there. That stun hadn't hit, would have been a lot, but there's the Infernum.
Yeah, it's just so much damage and crit as well. There's just not much you can do about that. As soon as you run into a Unicorns, it's just done.
Tried to push Flakked out of the fight, but Venour too low afterwards. And I mean, we've seen this one a couple times already, but Funky.
Not much you can do when you don't have a fun line as a Jinx.
It's not been a fun game for Funky.
And this adaptation of banning the Galio, picking the Aphelios instead of the Zeri, working out really well for Heretics now. Third dragon of the game for them, 7,000 gold their lead, 3 items finished on their Aphelios. Actually, when BF Sword Vamp Scepter skipped the Bloodthirster, went straight for the IE for the extra damage, and now it can build back up towards that BT.
Yeah, so much damage available to Flakked. And I think it's important to note, whilst the adaptation was also good from Heretics, Unicorns went towards the Cassante on 3 instead of the Galio. It's not like it was an option for them to snap it up earlier. considering how much of a PowerPoint it was for them in game number 1. Now, Venour is
not the
kind
easiest
of
chase.
being chased away.
I think if Peach hadn't been in the red side jungle, that would have been a nice collapse. But because Peach is there, Flakked really can't step too far forward.
Agreed.
And either way, it's open map state. We don't have many objectives to fight for. The nature of the game so far between both teams really has been that whenever an objective is up, that's where you fight for it, or when you're looking for turrets, that's where we're fighting for it. And for now, I think it's going to be a game of putting in the pressure in the mid lane and rotating that pressure elsewhere. For now, it's going to be the top lane, also because Baron is spawning in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, and additionally, I'd like to note, on top of all of that, despite the gold difference at the top of the screen, I would like to draw our attention to actually the gold split between the gold difference at the bottom of your screen, because if Unicorns can handedly somehow deal with Flakked, all of a sudden the gold difference is pretty manageable. These item breakpoints aren't too far apart in many of the core carries. It's just the bottom side where the major issue lies. But if Funky can get that first kill and get the resets going, then he can make up for that in that asset.
Yeah, and I think especially when you carry so many times, it's just about finding that power spike for yourself. While it's better, of course, every single time to be the one on 4 items compared to 3 items, when you hit that 3-item power spike and you have that IE, you're still going to be deadly enough when you find 1 reset to actually be a threat in the backline. Enemy AD carry is just going to be more of a threat, but if you find a favorable fight, suddenly you have something to play for, despite Funky being 1-6.
Yeah. He's still a Jinx at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And even with Kraken RFC, it's a lot of attack speed. So as long as he's able to actually open up, it can make the difference here. But definitely until that IE comes in, it's going to feel a little bit inferior, I suppose, to Flakked. And just generally the amount of damage that he should be able to offer on the opposite side.
I think at 1-6 you feel inferior to most people in the game, to be honest. It's a bit of a struggle for him in this game. Was very much targeted by Heretics. But last remaining tier 2 tower does fall, and Heretics extend their gold lead to about 9,000, but with 19 seconds on the Baron. They don't really have control of this top side as of yet. They can force Unicorns of Love to take the long way round into their red side jungle, but no vision here for Heretics makes it a little trickier for them to set up. They'll want to step in as a unit and then set up their vision line. Or they could just flip it. Those are the two options.
Yeah, you know? These are the options. And ping wards are available, both from jungler and support as well, to get that area around the Baron swept up as well. But I think a lot of it's just going to be, once again, you have teleport on Ibo, can just send them bot here and be a pressure down towards the bottom side of the map instead.
Just flip it, guys.
Right.
Flip it. I mean, Peach is at base.
Peach is all...
This is dead.
It's
oh my god, it is.
It's already gone. It's down to 3,000. They could look for something. Super Mega Death Pocket blocked well by Heretics. And it's less of a flip when the enemy jungler is nowhere to be seen.
Did they have him on vision? Did he recall on wards? I didn't actually pay attention to it.
I didn't see either.
I didn't catch either. I would maybe actually
they didn't really have any wards.
No.
Yeah,
so unless he was at the Krugs where there was one control ward, or this ward, like he took these razors and then took it.
Yeah, either way, it's just a good time. Call. Yeah, it's just a good call. It's good timing from Heretics. And they're able to steal away that Baron, and now they can hopefully actually crack open the base with this one. Because it feels like the game has significantly slowed down, and like I was kind of mentioning, we're starting to approach a point where I wouldn't say flatly that gold leads matter a lot less just yet, but it's about the nuance of the gold leads themselves, where realistically now, Funky has to be really close to his IE. He's been sat on those components forever.
Yeah.
And not only that, oh yeah, Medic, you can bring up the gold. Yeah, I mean, what is that? The combined cost, I think, is about 400 gold away, and he should have that off the top of my head.
Around that.
And he can sell the coal, so he doesn't really need too much more gold. Once that IE comes in, I'll be real, Unicorns and Heretics are more or less fighting on even footing.
I think I understand where you're coming from. I think even footing is...
well, even footing is maybe a, it's a hard sell.
The thing is, Unicorns can definitely win a fight when that IE comes in.
Yeah.
However, they do still have to deal with Ibo, who's a 3-item Gwen. They have to deal with the 3-item
They got
Jayce
a little
in the
stool
mid
they're standing on. There's a little stool under there.
It's more equitable in terms of how well a battle can go. You see the poke coming in from Zwyroo. Flakked looking for that moonlight visual. Funky. Oh! That almost kills him off, and that will be the inhibitor tower going down. Venour trying to catch the mid lane wave as the inhibitor will fall as well. Mars locked up here, flashes away, but bluerzor still on the chase, and bluerzor will take him down. The Jinx can get excited, but the stopwatch from bluerzor will buy a second. The Super Mega Death Pocket, the unbreakable shield, perfect from Marlon, and he survives as well. Venour trying to get into the backline, but now Funky's starting to get excited. There's 2 for him. Funky to get away from this. Funky flashes away, the needlework coming in as well. Ivo being locked up for days, a stopwatch from him. Flakked beginning to really breathe fire in this fight, and with the Severum and the Crescendum, he keeps Funky and Lekcyc back on their base. The minion cleared, Flakked pops the stopwatch, but soon after he will fall as well. The shutdown!
Wukong, that was such a visceral scream.
I'm sorry, but the shutdown to Nautilus. Are you kidding me? Funky's been struggling the entire game. Come on, man.
Oh my god. I have never heard Wukong scream like that. But it has to be said, so much poke damage, and Funky didn't have the IE just yet. I think he walked onto the platform and purchased it. And then from that point, this overstep in taking down Mask, great, but potentially giving Funky over the resets. But look at how many stopwatches happen, man. It's like first one, then I think a second one comes in off the back of this push in here as well. Like, it's so absurd. And it feels so frustrating for Funky. There's the second one onto Zwyroo.
Well.
And then Ivo as well, so it's just back to back to back.
Flakked holds one at the end as well.
Oh, yeah, so it's just, he can never get excited soon enough to actually turn this fight around in time.
Yeah, Nepo tempo stacked up here. Flakked without Calibrum can actually match up to it. Come on, why ever do that? Why?
I like the hook. The E was overkill. You don't need to E in that situation.
So I'm gonna be honest, guys. He was at 200 HP. I think he could have just walked back the fountain.
Yeah,
anyway.
you never know, okay? You never know.
All right.
The Gale Force on 3-second cooldown, as it all often feels when you're against
It's almost
it.
got Knight's Vow because of that, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's helping the Jinx. The Knight's Vow beneficial. Mountain Soul was secured for Heretics during that fight. You can see Ivo trying to push in the bottom lane. Marlon here going to get locked up for a second. The Unbreakable coming down, but Gravity Well doing work. Marlon down to half HP. Mars trying to open up. Ivo coming in from the side as well. There's a cycle and that's a 2 Moonlight Vigil goes wide. Ivo coming in though. And bluerzor trying to get that knock up into Mars. He pops the stopwatch of his own. Peach forced away. 1-for-1 trade so far. Funky trying to get excited. The hook just clips the heels of Ivo. Marlon dashing in once again. Minions in the bot lane are going to be difficult to deal with, but Peach with the Warmogs can heal himself up. Lekcyc looking for
Don't do it. Don't do
hook.
it. Don't do it.
It's not great guns for the Aphelios if they could find a fight, but it would be a bit tricky to get the rest of the team in.
I think he's about to swap over to the Chakrams, actually. One more Q, if he can actually kill a minion, or a minion without killing it. There you go, assist.
Calibrum.
Calibrum, yeah. Calibrum. Either way,
Calibrum.
You can see.
Calibrated.
Calibrated
is how we say it in the medical profession.
But
Flakked, though, now starts to take down the tower. Funky down to half HP, that's an inhibitor. That will be forfeit by the Unicorns of Love, and Heretics just cracking through the entire Unicorns base.
Yeah, everything. You can see there as well, the amount of AoE damage available to Ivo was so nasty. He's got the needlework again.
3 seconds on Mask now.
Yeah.
TP available, but there's no wards for them. Peach looked for something, couldn't find it.
Yeah, they're just trying to chase on that window because they could see that bluerzor obviously dead coming back out from base. Wondering whether or not they could chase down with Mask.
Yeah, they're looking for the third inhibitor. Baron is spawning in less than 1 minute, so if they could have had that, it would have been so much pressure. See if they can actually catch anyone off here. There's no vision, so they wouldn't actually know. But yeah, for now, we're going to have a Baron set up in just a bit. The problem for Unicorns of Love right now is that mid lane inhibitor down, bot lane inhibitor down. So it's going to be really difficult for you to have that pressure on the map that you're looking for.
Peach using the Scryer's Bloom there to clear out his own jungle, trying to make sure there's no TP flank wards, no teleports for Heretics right now, but Ibos will be at back up in about 30-40 seconds or so. Same with Zwyroo. There is one control ward up near the Krug, spotting Peach as he rounds his way through the jungle once again.
Ward on a pink ward there, so one of the wards will still prevail. Vision is still there. They're still waiting for pink ward to come down in the pit. The problem is everyone's at their full items. bluerzor's holding on to his stopwatch right now because he wants that GA, so there's no extra pink wards.
Arctic Soul was a little bit short there. There's the Cyclone coming out. Peach does have the flash and uses it to try and get away, but Heretics will not let him escape. Another Cyclone finds it. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Ivo caught out a little bit, but he puts down the immunity shield and won't be locked up. Lecyc's now caught up with the Glacial Fissure, and you have to feel that's it. Heretics can just walk it into the base now. Flashing forward, Moonlight Vigil dodge, but you can't dodge the Calibrum shots from Flakked. A double for him. Looking for one more, but Ivo steals it away. Flakked on the fountain will keep Mask at bay as Heretics tie up the series.
Really strong looking game from Heretics, and I think just the removal of that Galio, you could really see it just defanged the Unicorns as a whole.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's going on?
It's quicker than it usually is.
Yeah. It's alright. You get to see, medic broad shoulders underneath the blazer.
Anyways,
sorry.
League of Legends.
Yeah, sorry. Medic's just so handsome. League of Legends, anyway. As it was, it just felt too docile for the Unicorns, right? I felt like their options were a little bit too limited after the early game, it felt.
But even then, like a bit of an anticlimactic end because it was never really about that last Baron. It was just like, as you said, short Arctic Assault into the flash that really wouldn't get you away. So they were never really put in that position where they could actually wait for that final fight that they had waited for. But I also think it's hard to play out from the draft, right? Top lane pushed in on the tower, Nautilus into Braum. We saw what that did in the laning phase. Mask actually did a phenomenal job on the Viktor, but the problem is it wasn't really enough to the point that Flakked had gotten so far ahead that even when you were up trading with them, and usually a Viktor likes that when anyone's comes walking into them, did not matter because the Aphelios still did more damage.
I've also still got to say, it feels so frustrating to not see Unicorns play towards the top side when when their bottom side is getting smashed. I'll reference it again. We saw it in the quarterfinals where it felt like, you know, Funky was maybe being focused down a little bit because Funky's a very good player and often he will draw attention from the enemy team. When you've got Venour, in this case, yes, it's not the best matchup in the world, but give yourself something to stand on, man. With the Cassante and with the Sejuani, it's something that you can try and use as a bridge to bring down towards some of these bottom side skirmishes and actually overpower the side of Heretics.
But I also just feel like all you're looking for in terms of the tendencies that we've seen in this game is just who's got the better team fighting, who gets the better skirmishing, because people are having a lot of trouble when it comes to the tower. It's taking them down. So if you just set yourself up for the better team fights, that's probably giving you a better edge in today's matchup.
Yeah, it definitely feels like team fights are the way to go. We're going to hand it over to Law, who is sitting by, standing by, one of the two. Sitting.
Yeah, we mix it up. We changed the location, of course, here. Unicorns of Love come back, and we have a series, Mademoiselle. We were looking for some improvements on the side of Heretics when it comes to pick priorities. The same draft beginning, but here, I mostly appreciated the bot lane picks. I love Flakked on Aphelios, and I think it was the most successful champion he could play with in this matchup.
Yeah, I think we set it up before. It's like, please, like, get off the Zeri hype train, because you know what? Aphelios is just going to be so much more useful when it comes to playing the bot lane 2v2, when you do funnel into these river fights early on, and you have a gun like the Graviton where you can set up for your team to get these kills. I love the adaptation in draft altogether. I love the fact that Jayce was a flex this time, went over to mid lane, which then rendered Mask kind of idle in the early game. He was stuck under his tower, he was throwing waves back and forth with the Jayce, but the Jayce always had priority through that. And honestly, they forced Unicorns of Love on a very passive draft overall. I call this the sacrificial lamb Sejuani. She has no job on the map. Mad Lions did it a lot over in the LEC, in the regular season as well. She has no job on the map, no setup nowhere. She's pretty much a human wood around the map, trying to set up for later on team fights.
I agree, but less responsibilities on the side of the Jinx this time around with the Viktor in the mid lane. But bot lane was such a disaster, Noah. It's clearly not what they were expecting here.
It was the same plan than in the first game, right? Heretics wanted to jump onto the Jinx, but this time they were more efficient onto it. But the fact that Unicorns of Love still had a win condition onto that, Viktor and Gulbul was talking about that, and I was totally agree with him. I think Mask made an amazing job into holding the game. They were still hanging onto that game with the wave clear that Viktor has, with all the zone control that Viktor provides. But the fact that he was picked several times, Heretics snowballed through that. They took him off guard once. They killed him. They took the first Fire Nasher, and all the advantage came through there.
And it all started with that bot lane, man. Flakked on Aphelios is my favorite flavor in the summer, okay? Wait, we're in spring. In spring. Anyway, I feel like his Aphelios gives so much setup in that early game, and every time Unicorns of Love try to be aggressive through that bot side of the map, guess what? The Jayce moved first every single time, which gave numbers advantage over to Heretics and allowed that Aphelios to play with so much aggression, having so many bodies thrown around him from his team. So again, big advocate of the Aphelios in the bot lane. Huge props to Marlon as well.
Absolutely.
On the Braum. It was a Braum pick that was pixel perfect into 3 melees, one of them being a melee support as well. Great snowball from Braum.
I'm glad that you mentioned it, because for me it's the issue of blind picking Nautilus like this when you know what they can answer with. And props to Flakked, of course, for getting the damage going. But yeah, for me it was mostly a duo achievement here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, something we were highlighting during the pre-show was that Heretics bot lane just improved in their synergy, and you could feel it in that bot lane matchup that we just saw.
That's massive.
That is massive. I mean, Flakked Aphelios, we were agreeing onto that. That is absolutely crazy. 1K 143 damage per minute. That's my boy.
I just want to point out here the 2.5k lead as well, because
Yeah, that is
Jinx
crazy.
comes from base. She had 2 long swords. She comes from base. She buys a Noon Quiver.
Oh, dramatic.
Flakked returns on the map with 2 items.
Yeah, 40,000 damage total during this game, which is huge and expected. But knowing this, seeing how much he did in the early game, I was kind of surprised not to see Heretics and use the snowball they have to finish the game and close it out a bit faster than this trouble.
I think this is where the
was a
nerves
slow.
kind of came
Yeah.
in. And honestly, we had to wait so long until that first Baron for Heretics to realize, wait, this is a Noon Quiver Jinx. We have a 2-item Aphelios with Gale Force, force the fight. And they finally forced the fight that we're seeing right now on our screens. Beautiful
it.
stuff right here, because you know what? That Cassante is down bot lane with no TP, which means the second Gwen moves up to river, versus TP Baton gets in, makes it instantly a 4v5.
I have an objection here because, yeah, I agree that Heretics could have ended the game faster, but it's also props to Musk, who did an amazing job onto the Viktor, just slowing the game onto a point where they, with the Viktor and maybe the Jinx coming back into 3 items. When Jinx have 3 items, it's okay if she was behind because it's the Jinx with 3 items. But he was not only ahead. Musk was really well farmed, and he was a threat. He was a deadly threat that could have taken Aphelios out of the team fight. And if Aphelios is out of the fight, then the game is absolutely even.
Yeah, it was, and the caster was also mentioning the fact that bot lane was collapsing, maybe give more responsibilities and agency to the top lane. Mid lane, of course, could have done something else with these scaling picks. But looking on the side of Heretics, we were looking for more meticulous team fights and a more laid-back approach. To me, this is what they needed to do here. Maybe, again, refining the approach from the crumbles of Game 1. It makes sense to me that they would take their time like this.
Yeah, and maybe this is where the nerves came from as
Yeah,
well,
right?
right? Trying to pick up the fights, even though you're 4k ahead, and it lasted for like 10 minutes you were at the 4k ahead. But you know what? I think patience usually wins you the games when you know you have scaling in your team. You've got the Aphelios, you've got the Gwen free farming over in the top lane. You know you're going to win through these damage dealers. They have 4 damage dealers on their team, so somebody is going to finish them off, even if Flakked cannot do the job, right? But I feel like the slow and steady wins the race, shows a new face for Heretics, because we know that over in Superliga, they do like these bloodthirsty, super fast paced games. And right here, we've seen Unicorns instantly punish you. They'll slap your hand if you extend it too far. And I just love that it was a slow, patient game. They found their right fights where they could turn it into a 4v5, and that's when they capitalized.
I have to say that it's not that we like them. Me as a play-by-play, I enjoy them for sure. But sometimes our teams get stuck into that situation and they start to brawl, maybe like in some nonsense way. But the fact is that, yeah, they could have gone faster, but you know, Heretics were more methodical. We were demanding that from them, but still, I want them to not hesitate that much when it comes to you know, just finish the game, because I felt like they were stuck. They needed to Baron Nashor to finish that game. And something, and this is really scary from Unicorns of Love, and I don't know if you're gonna be agreeing with me, but I really feel like this team just arises and becomes more powerful when they are under that kind of pressure. I'm remembering, for example, the first game in the quarterfinals where they had the Nexus absolutely open, and suddenly they all popped off as a team. And I felt like that in this situation. They were in this situation when they were defending the base. They could not team fight. They were behind, but somehow they were forcing Heretics to retreat once again and again.
I mean, you know, if you get the Jinx excited, usually that's when you can push back and get this kind of
That
team
was
fight
not a very
happens.
excited Jinx.
It was not a very excited Jinx, yeah, but with scaling options like this, I agree with you, Noah. This is when it can become dangerous on the side of Heretics. Focusing on next game, 1-1 now. Unicorns of Love will be playing on the blue side this time around, so a shift, unexpected one, also, I believe. But anything we want to expect in terms of priority picks in the side of Unicorns? What do you want to see in the first rotation playing blue side?
Honestly, I think we're gonna have, you know, a massive shift when it comes to the draft, because we were surprised, quoting mass surprise, because of the Saya Rakan ban from blue side, from the side of Heretics. Both are really, really powerful, of course, but you don't tend to watch them all both together banned by the same team. I think that's gonna change, honestly. Now, Unicorns will love have the chance to get that Saya for Funky. He popped off several times all during the competition with that Saya, and I think we might have the priorities change dramatically from Unicorns of Love.
I feel like if anything, we might see the Olaf ban dropped. Since you do have red side
That's true.
for Heretics, you do have the chance to see what top laner they pick and try to counterpick it from the side of Eyeball. I think he has a massive champion pool as well, so it wouldn't be as fair to have the Olaf ban, especially when you're red side, when there are picks like Annie,
Yeah.
Jayce, also the Vi that you need to get rid of. We might actually see something like Maokai and Sejuani being open. If the Jayce doesn't get banned away, that will be a problem. So you have so many picks to focus on when you're red side that maybe they will not prioritize Rosaya and Rakan together. And I think the Olaf ban is going to be dropped from here from Heretics. But still, I'm seeing... I'm focusing mainly on that mid lane because it felt like Mask was forced onto that Viktor. And even though, yes, Viktor does a lot of damage, the setup was not there for the mid jungle. So my eyes are straight on that mid jungle synergy from both sides.
It's mostly been about how you can set up jungle mid anyway so far in this series. 1-1 in this EMEA semifinals so far. We'll see who between Heretics and Unicorns of Love gets to match point in just a few minutes. Stay tuned.